emergency situation, we have to follow the 5 steps of DrHab. Danger, response, help, airway, breathing. DrHab outlines the 5 key steps that you should follow before either performing CPR or pushing the patient into the recovery. The first letter, D, for danger, represents your actions of having to assess your victim's surrounding before you approach the victim. This may include anything that poses a threat to you as the treater or as the person that's attempting to cure the person that's in trouble. Therefore, a muddy field or wet floors or even a ditch may pose a danger to you. Therefore, before approaching the victim in any circumstance, you should assess this fact. The second letter of DrHab is R for response. In this step of the 5 steps, you have to look for a response from the patient. This may include you having to call to the patient before approaching them, or approaching them and then leaning over, and then shouting or calling into both their ears in case they're deaf in one, and then shaking the shoulders finally in case they do not wake up. The third letter of DrHab is H for help. Now that you have identified that the patient is not responding to your calls, or shakes, or calls in both ears, you have to shout for help in case the patient is in a worse situation than you have imagined, or that they seem like as if they're in. Therefore, always call for help and try and get a paramedic or someone that knows what they're doing, or someone who knows better than you, to the situation so that by the time they're in the recovery position or off, by the time you perform CPR, they can treat the patient. This may save their life. The penultimate letter is A for airway. In this step, you have to assess whether the patient is breathing. To do this, you must place one hand on one side of the victim, another hand on the other side of the victim. Or you can place your knees apart and lie on one side, kneel on one side of them, and put your left or right cheek, whichever is more convenient, against or near their nose so you can feel the warm air against your cheek. If you do feel this warm air, they are breathing. Otherwise, you may have to open their airway. The final step of DrHab is B for breathing. In this step, you ensure that you leave and stay with the patient in a state that they're breathing and safe, and so that they can last till paramedics arrive. To do this, you have to first of all open the airway, and this will be demonstrated later on in the video, or you have to perform CPR. A video on CPR will be posted shortly. However, if they are breathing, you place them in the recovery position. Now we shall see the 5 steps of DrHab being put into practice in a real-life situation. In this situation, this boy has fallen over in the lab, and we shall assess danger, response, help, airway, and breathing. So the first step of DrHab is danger. Before we attend to the patient, we have to assess the situation around us and the environment around us. Currently, we're in a laboratory. There are tables, there are floors. The floors may be wet, and if they're wet, we might slip. But at the moment, I cannot see any water. Therefore, it is okay to approach the patient. So, the next steps are for response. To check for a response, we have to call to the patient. Hello, can you hear me? That is what we meant to shout when you're trying to get a response. Clearly, I have not got a response. So what I have to do is I have to get down, or go to the back of them. You should never lean over them, and talk into each of their ear, ask them whether they can hear you, because they may be deaf in one. Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? Clearly, this patient is not responding. So the final step to check whether he's responding or not is to shake his shoulders, just in case it's stiff. So, hello, can you hear me? In this case, he's either dead or he's unconscious as he's not responding. The next step is to call for help. If you call for help now, by the time help does arrive, this patient may be able to survive. Otherwise, if he is in a severe condition, he may pass away. Now, I've called for help. Help, help! I have to open his airway, but first I have to check whether he's breathing or not. To do this, I have to put my cheek against, well, I have to open his airway first, so to do that, I have to do that, well, gently. So 3 fingers on his chin, and palm on his forehead, and that will open. And now I have to put my cheek against his mouth and call for a breath. Okay, so I cannot feel anything. So therefore, what I have to do is I have to make sure that because he's not responding, I have to perform CPR on him. But in this case, let's say he is breathing. In this case, I have to now put him in the recovery position, and then he'll be safe to